Hey crafty fam, it's Alex Vanover and welcome back to my craft room. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a 3D banner using cardstock. So let's get started. So the first step in getting our banner started is to prepare all the elements that we want to put on our banner, starting with our text. So I'm going to click the text box here and type out beware in all caps because that's what I want to put on my banner. And I'm using this super cute font called Nightmare that I got from Creative Fabrica. I absolutely love this font and I think it's adorable. So I'm going to make it a little bit larger and I'm going to change the color to green because that's the color of paper that I'm going to cut it out of. And then next I'm going to create an offset on the whole word. But let me show you how I'm going to do this so that I can still individually separate everything. I really want this banner to have kind of a 3D look to it. So we're going to add in a couple of layers with the offset and the banner shape behind the offset. So what I'm going to do is go up to the offset feature and click the drop down menu. And then I'm actually going to change the outline around the letters to just 0.20 inches because I like the way that that looks a little bit better. And then I'm going to uncheck the weld offset button, and that way that will allow each of the letters to still remain independent and not become one big blob, if you will. Then I'll choose apply. And you'll see we have a really nice offset all the way behind us. With everything still selected, I'm going to go ahead and change the color to purple since that's the color of paper that I want to cut out my offset. So then I'm going to click and drag a box around everything, and I want to change the height to about 2.9 inches. Now we'll see how that looks when we actually place it on the banner, but I'm thinking that's about the right size that we want for this whole, for the height of all of the letters. Now they're going to have different widths because, the different letters look different, but it's really important to maintain a consistent height on all your text so that everything looks good when you put it on the banner. It all looks to be the exact same size. So then I need to go ahead and ungroup the letters for the Nightmare text. And then I'll be able to actually separate each of these letters and offsets. So I'll just click and drag a box around both and then drag them out of the way so that they can be separated. It might be a little tricky with this W. Here we go. And as long as we get them separated so we can make sure they look good on the banner, they don't really need to stay in any particular order, since they'll be cut out of different colors of paper anyway. Next, I want to put a shape before and after the word beware on my banner. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those shapes and prepare those with an offset as well. So I'm going to go into my recent uploads and click on this Halloween banner bundle. And we're just going to choose a couple of elements from this bundle. So I'm going to ungroup them. And I think I want to use this ghost and this skull. So I'm going to draw a box around the other elements and go ahead and get rid of them. A lot of these would be super cute. And actually this banner bundle would make a great banner in and of itself. I just wanted to do kind of a text and a image banner for Halloween. Next, I'm going to select both of these items and make them purple because that's the color that I'm going to cut them out of. And then I'm going to make an offset on each of them and change them to a little bit of a different color. So I think we'll we'll make the offset the same size as the text. So 0.2 inches and then choose apply. And I'm going to turn this offset orange because I want to change up the color a little bit and make it really fun. And we'll just repeat the same process on this ghost. And now this side is all set. So next we need to put the banner shapes into our project and make sure that everything is sized in a way that's going to look really good. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a bundle of banner shapes that I bought on Design Bundles. So you guys can check out this bundle if you want to. I'll link it in the description. But there's a lot of places to find banner shapes. You can even find some for free inside the images in Cricut Design Space if you just want to do something easy. You could probably even Google it because these are really popular. I just like having all of these at my disposal. I especially like the scallop shapes. I think those are really cute. But anyway, I'm going to be using this type of shape right here for my banner. So what I need to do is ungroup my images, and then I just need to click and draw boxes around all of the banner shapes that I don't want to keep. we'll get rid of all of these and make sure that none of them are left. Oh, we have quite a few. So we'll get rid of all of those. And keep in mind that my canvas is zoomed out at 50%, so that could be why it's looking a little bit small. But what I found through trial and error for the size of my banner is I really like my shapes to be about 5 inches wide. Anything smaller than that, and they just end up seeming really, really tiny. So I like a 5-inch wide shape. And then we need to go ahead and put the text and the offset on top of one of these. But since it's going behind, we need to right click and then choose Send to Front. And that's even looking a little bit small. So I'm going to go ahead and resize this B so that it looks good on the banner. I'll use Control Z to move that back into the center. Remember that you want to be working with both the offset and the letter itself when you're moving it. And that may be, well, that's about right. Yeah. It's okay if it goes up between the top a little bit, but I don't want to make anything, too big. So the height of the offset is ended up being 3.4 inches high. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and do Control C to make sure that all of my other letters are the same height. So I'm going to click and drag a box around the letter and the offset and make the height that same 3.4 inches. Okay, so now that we have a better size, let's actually go back and select the pennant shape, and then we're going to duplicate it, one for each letter and for these shapes. So here's the B, E, W, A, R, E, and then 2 more for the shapes. We can kind of lay these out so we can double check and make sure that everything fits before we waste a bunch of paper and make things the wrong size. So we'll move all this down this way. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. It just needs to make sure, we just need to test each one and make sure that they look okay. So we'll double check the E. Oops, goodness gracious. These don't want to move with us today. So we need to select both and choose Send to Front. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. The only one I'm really concerned about is this W. I don't know that it is going to fit on the banner at that high. Yeah, and that's a little bit close. So I'm going to adjust the height instead of the width so that it stays really, really close to the other shapes. And let me try it at 3.2 inches wide. Yeah, and that's still going to look good. That way I've got a little bit of margin on either side of my banner. So once we have all of the letters saved and sized and all the offsets and all that good stuff, next we need to save our project. Since this took so long, we certainly don't want to lose our work. And next we'll move on to the prep screen and make sure that everything looks the way that it should. We can also double check on this screen that we have enough paper for this whole project, because I've definitely done that before where I was working on something and I ended up needing a little bit of extra paper. So you'll need 3 sheets of the Blackberry Swirl Basil paper if you're following along with the paper from 143 Vinyl. You'll need 1 shade of, I believe it's Marmalade Blast, 1 sheet of Lime Crush, and 1 shade of Grape Delight to do this project with the same letters that I'm doing. If you want to change these up, feel free to make it fit your style. Next, we'll click Continue. And I really like using the medium cardstock setting with all of the Basil cardstock from 143 Vinyl. That works really, really great for me. So I'm going to hop over to my machine and cut all of this cardstock, and I'll see you guys over at my craft table to show you how to assemble this super cute Halloween banner. So once your cardstock is cut on your Cricut, the next step is to assemble your banner. So you can do that using these foam dots like I am, or you can just keep it super simple with using glue. Now to use foam dots, you just want to flip the top layer over so that the backside is facing up, and then apply a few foam dots using your tweezers. Then pull the paper off the backing so that the dots are sticky. Then flip it over and push it onto the back of the offset very gently, and that's all you have to do. There's no dry time. There's no wavy paper or anything like that like you sometimes get with regular glue. That's why I love using foam dots. Plus, it just gives such a 3D look to this banner and gives it such a nice pop, especially with these bright colors. Another reason it's great to use a font like this is because the letters are not super thin. So with this B, you'll see that I didn't have to do any cutting of the foam dots or anything like that. Now with the E, I will have to cut them up a little bit because you don't want the foam dots to be visible from the front of the letter. So those little serifs on the end of the E were very thin. So I did cut them up a little bit with my X-Acto knife, but luckily there are only 2 E's in this word. So it honestly was still pretty easy. I cut them in half and then again in quarters for some parts of the serif. Just make sure you're being very careful when you have to use your X-Acto knife to not cut your fingers. I also really like using a lint roller next to all of my foam dots because that keeps all the little papers in check. You'll know if you've ever done like a 3D mandala or a project like this, those little papers coming off of the foam dots can kind of drive you crazy. This project is just about foolproof. There's very few ways that you can mess it up. But one way that you can mess it up if you have an offset like this is forgetting to flip the top layer over so that you're putting the foam dots on the back. And if that does happen and you can't get the foam dots off, obviously you may have to recut the letter, which is kind of a bummer. But other than that, and making sure you can't see the foam dots from the front of the letter, like I said, this project is just about foolproof, which is why I love it. I love using Halloween banners on my mantle and in my fall and Halloween decor. You guys also saw in my intro and outro that I use this banner here in my craft room because it looked really cute across my shelves. So there's a ton of cute applications for making banners. And obviously, once you learn how to do this, you don't even have to limit it to just Halloween banners. You can make a banner for literally every occasion. They're super, super fun. So again, you'll watch me cut up my foam dots here very carefully with the X-Acto knife and even tighten the blade to make sure that it didn't fall out. But once I got everything stuck on this E, that's my very last letter, then I moved on to actually adding the letters to the banner. Now, you could go backwards, and if you wanted to, you could stick the letter onto the offset and then put the offset onto the banner right away, but I personally prefer to do all the letters and then all of the letters. I just think that's easier to think about, but that's totally up to you how you want to do it. But it gets even easier when you get to this step because the offsets are even thicker than the letters themselves, so adding foam dots on the back is super, super easy. I also recommend using foam dots again in this step if you were the first time as well, because that second layer of foam dots really helps it lift it up off the banner shape. If you go ahead and just use glue on the offset, it'll still look nice, but it won't be as three-dimensional looking. If you've never worked with foam dots before, the foam dots do tend to stick to your fingers quite a lot, which is why I like using my stab and grab tweezers from 143 to pick up all of my foam dots and pull off all of the papers. It just makes handling them a lot faster and a lot easier. I love using this banner shape because the two tails with the little triangle in the center gives you a really easy center line to line up your letters with, and then you just line it up in between the holes for the banner, and it's seriously easy peasy. Next, after all the letters are stuck onto the banner shape, then we get to string up our banner. I decided to use this baker's twine from Crafter Square, which is the Dollar Tree brand, and I decided to use the orange one because I thought it gave it a super fun Halloween feel. Now, I pulled out enough string that I thought I would need, but I did keep it attached to the roll of string in case I needed more. That way I don't waste any, because I've learned that lesson through trial and error. And as you can see, I started at the back of the banner. So first I strung up the ghost, and then I'm going to string up the word backwards. So that way, like I said, I can adjust my spacing with the string, and that way I don't waste any. I've tried in the past to guess how much I need, and I almost always get it wrong. So trial and error is kind of the best teacher for that, but hopefully I can save you guys some materials and do it this way because it's a lot easier. With longer banners, it does get a little bit more challenging, but since this one was relatively short, it was pretty easy to do. Then I like to leave between 6 and 12 inches at the end of my string just to make sure there's tons of string to hang the banner wherever you want to hang it. If you're not already a part of one of my crafty fams on Facebook, then I would love to have you join one of my Facebook groups. So I'll be sure to link both down in the description below. And if you make anything using my tutorials, whether it's a cardstock banner or something else, and you decide to share it out on Instagram, be sure to use the hashtag DIYAlex because I love seeing what you guys are crafting. And if you've made it this far in the video, then I really want to get to know you on social media. So please search for me at DIYAlexVanover on pretty much all major social media platforms. I'll also drop direct links to my profiles down in the description below.